All right, folks, welcome back. Today we are continuing our look into the hang fire problems we've experienced in 6.5 Creedmoor when using small primers. The first two videos in this little investigation have been focused on primers. Today I want to switch gears and focus on powders. The last two videos have given us enough information to draw a couple conclusions. These two primers have been our best performers, the CCI number 41 and the Remington 7.5. These guys have never given us any hang fire problems. On the other side of things, the S&B small rifle primer was the worst we tested. All of our testing up to this point has been with Vitavori N550, which is a double base extruded powder that seems to be difficult to ignite. They're, like I said, only those two primers I just showed are the only ones who made it through all of the testing without having any hang fires. So these were the worst. Of the 5 shots we took with this primer, 2 of them were complete misfires. The primer went off and the powder never ignited, and the other 3 were hang fires, where there was a noticeable delay between the primer going off and the powder igniting. So at this point, we think we know which small primers work best, but we really have no idea how widespread this problem is. It's been pretty easy to replicate in Vitavori N550. So I've pulled out 10 different powders that I want to test today, and we're going to use this primer to see if they show the same problem. Here's the distribution. We've got 3 reloader powders, 15, 17, and 26. As far as I know, these are double base extruded powders, which means they're nitrocellulose and nitroglycerin, which is the same as Vitavori N550, which gave us problems. So is it the double base makeup that's causing the problem? I'm not sure. We'll see how these 3 powders perform, and maybe that'll give us some clues. The next 4 are single base extruded powders, just nitrocellulose. We've got H4350, IMR 4350, Hodgdon Varget, and Vitavori N160. I've also got 3 spherical powders, or ball powders, Winchester 760, Hodgdon Superformance, and Hodgdon H380. As far as I know, all ball powders are double base powders. And at this point, knowing the little bit that I do, I think that's what we're going to find. I think we're going to find hang fire problems with at least some, if not all, of the reloader powders and also the ball powders. I think the single base extruded powders won't give us any problem. I could be completely wrong, and that's what this test is all about. So, you know the powders, you know the primer. The brass is all going to be the Starline small primer brass. The bullet is going to be the same as yesterday's video. The 140 grain Hornady Match Bowtail hollow point. This guy shot some pretty good groups in yesterday's video, so I'm looking forward to seeing how well it's going to shoot with all these different powders. We're going to shoot the same overall length that we've shot in the last 2 videos, 2.875 inches. And as far as charge weight, I want to use minimum charges with all of these because, you know, back to our previous 2 videos where we used Vitavori N550, our charge weight was rather small, which meant we had a good bit of excess case capacity. You know, we had empty case left over, and that might be a significant thing in this problem. So all of these powders, I want to shoot absolute minimum charges. I've gathered data from the Hornady manual, from the Hodgdon website, from the Vitavori website. The only one where I really don't have any good load data is Reloader 26. We've shot Reloader 26 with the 135 grain Berger Classic Hunter. So I'm absolutely just making it up for this guy. I'm going to try and shoot 43.0 grains and we'll see how that does. But all the charge weights are right there on your screen. I'm not going to talk through them all, but they just come from the minimum charge weights in the manuals and on the websites, and I rounded them up to the nearest half grain just to make them easier to remember and maybe a little less confusing when I'm measuring out the charges. So that's the plan. 5 shot groups with all of these, and we'll just go and see what happens. Now, yesterday's video, I had put the ammunition in the freezer and we were trying to get it as cold as possible. We're not going to do any of that crap. Today's weather, it's very cold out there. It's like 15 to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're just going to let it be air temperature. As soon as I get these guys loaded up, I'm going to take the ammunition outside. I'm going to make sure that it has at least an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to sit out in the cold and get down to ambient air temperature. So that's the plan. Our brass, I've already resized it. I actually tumbled it I have used a flash hole deburring tool to make sure that all of the flash holes didn't have any burrs that might interfere with the test. So these guys should be good to go. So I need to get to priming. So I think the most challenging thing here will be not confusing myself and making sure that I read the right charge weight for the right powder. Because of all the mistakes you can make in reloading, that's definitely the one that will blow your face off, is getting powders confused or reading the wrong line in the manual, thinking you're looking at charge weights for one powder when you're looking at another or something like that. So I'm going to be on my guard here. I think what I'll probably do is not film any of that. Like, you guys don't need to see me weighing out 5 charges of each of these powders and all of that crap. So just to simplify it a little bit for myself, keep myself from getting confused, I think we'll just jump forward to a little bit of bullet seating. And that's also going to be pretty boring because the die is already set from yesterday's video. So we're going to be on the range freezing our butt off here in no time. Tell you what, like, our first charge here is 33.5 grains of Reloader 15. Tons of empty case. Yeah, so we're doing 33 grains of Reloader 15 and 33 grains of Varget 2.875. Perfect, right on the money. So lots of empty space in there. Even more than we saw with Vihtavuori N550. So I think the results of today's tests are going to be fascinating. So that's really all there is to it. I just need to weigh out the rest of the charges, try not to get anything mixed up, and seat the bullets. So I'll see you guys out on the range. Okay, folks, let's get this party started. We are shooting at 100 yards. The target down there has got 1-inch dots. The gun is our trusty Thompson Center Compass. It has a 22-inch barrel with a 1 1/8 twist. We're shooting through my Silencer Co. Omega suppressor. I've got a Magneto Speed chronograph, a 4-16 by 44 power vortex scope, and we are ready to rock. The ammunition has been sitting outside for almost 2 hours. The air temperature, as I was walking out the door, was 18 degrees. So it should have had plenty of time to acclimate. So let's get started. First up is Reloader 15, a double base extruded powder. I love days like today because I have no idea what to expect here. I really don't. So let's get to it. And we start things off with a misfire. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. One of these things is going to go off on me. I just have that feeling. I just never know how long to give them. Okay, it's been at least 60 seconds, so. All right, really good strike on the primer. So, all right, let's keep going. So that's another misfire. I tell you what, we'll make this a rule. If we get 2 consecutive misfires, we'll just move on to the next powder. Because clearly Reloader 15, it just ain't going to happen. Now, next up is everybody's favorite, Hodgdon Varget. As far as I know, this is a single base extruded powder. So I would expect it to light off a little bit easier. Let's see if that's the case. Misfire. Okay, so I may have... oh, crap. I may have misjudged this problem here, folks. Let's try another one. Misfire. Okay, the next candidate is Superformance. All right, that was a bad hang fire, but at least it went off. All right, 5 hang fires. Not exactly a good showing, but at least they went off. Next up is reloader 17. Misfire. Misfire. Okay, next up is H4350. Just a little bit of a hang fire there, but not bad. Same deal, just a little bit of a hang. Well, dang it, the last shot here is a misfire. So 4 hang fires and 1 misfire with H4350. So next up, back to the spherical powders, H380. Misfire. Pretty distinct hang fire there. Misfire. All right, I think we'll go ahead and give up on that guy since we did get our 2 misfires. Now this next powder is Reloader 26. This is I'm very interested to see whether this one works or not because this is a pretty full case. Reloader 26 is very slow for this application, so we've got a super full case. Next up is 43 grains of Reloader 26. That shot was perfect. That's the first perfect shot we've had today. All right, that was 5 perfect shots, and it looks like a pretty good group too. Very, very interesting stuff. At this point, I'm starting to think it has a whole lot more to do with case fill than it has to do with powder chemistry or maybe even temperature. Maybe. Next up is Vitivory N160. Charge weight is 36.0 grains. Hang fire. Misfire. Another misfire. Okay, next up is Winchester 760. This is 36.0 grains. Hang fire. All right, so the last one here is a misfire. So 4 hang fires, 1 misfire. Okay, last up, IMR 4350. Hang fire. Misfire. Yep, another misfire. So I think that pretty much covers it. Let's get back to the bench and see what we can make of this. All right, folks, here's the deal. Here's the problem. I'm immediately left with the question of, would these work if they were warmed up? You know, it's freaking cold out here. Just kind of my initial analysis of the situation, I think we're going to find this has more to do with case capacity than it has to do with powder type. So I've still got some daylight left today. Here's what I want to do. I want to take these inside and I'm going to try and dream up a way to warm these guys up. The shots we've still got left that weren't fired or weren't misfired, I want to see if they'll go off when they're warm. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run inside, try and warm these guys up, and then come back out here to the range. Okay, folks, I may have gone a little bit overboard. What I did is I took the rounds and put them in my dehydrator. Let that warm air kind of flow over them for a while. for like an hour, hour and a half. And every 15 minutes or so, I went in and shook the rounds to make sure the powder got evenly distributed and everything got nice and warm. So as of like 5 minutes ago, when I took them out of the dehydrator, they were actually hot to the touch. And I've got them in my ammo box with some hand warmers. I've got some hand warmers on there, going to try and keep everything warm. So I want to try and shoot these guys before they have a chance to cool down. So let's get started. Back to Reloader 15. Okay, we've got 3 shots of Reloader 15 left over. I'm going to try my best to keep the groups together, but honestly, the most important thing is getting these rounds fired off before they have a chance to cool down. Misfire. Misfire. Okay, next up is Varget. Misfire. Hey, we got it to go off, but pretty bad hang fire. And another hang fire. Okay, next is Reloader 17. Hang fire. Hang fire. Misfire. Okay, 2 rounds of H380 is next. Misfire. Misfire. All right, next is Vitavori N160. I'm going pretty fast. These rounds are absolutely still warm to the touch. Hang fire. Misfire. Okay, last is IMR 4350. Misfire. So 1 hang fire, 1 misfire. Well, that wasn't as much improvement as I thought we would see. So now let's get back to the bench. Okay folks, so I've been off the range for a couple hours. I've been pondering what happened, and I'm still not even close to wrapping my head around what happened today, processing this information. Totally different result than I expected. I thought some of these powders, at least some of these powders, would work. These were very low charge weights across the board, but they were all above the starting charges in the manuals. So I thought at least some of them would work. Well, Reloader 26 worked just fine. You know, our charge weight with this guy was 5 grains hotter than anything else. It's a very slow powder. So it filled up a whole lot more of the case than the others, and it ran just fine. We had a nice full case of powder, and those 5 shots with this guy were fine. Those were the only 5 good shots of the day. Everything else was a misfire or a hang fire. There were a couple powders that worked a little bit better than the others, and it's these 3 right here. H4350 had only 1 misfire and 4 hang fires. Winchester 760 was the same way, 1 misfire, 4 hang fires. And Hodgdon Superformance, they all went off. We had 5 hang fires. I find this very, very surprising. Like I mentioned in the opening, I thought the Reloader powders would have problems, and I thought our ball powders would have problems, right? Our double-based powders, I thought they might have problems. But these 2 ball powders, 760 and Superformance, outperformed a lot of the single-base extruded powders. That's shocking. I think what we can say is that I overestimated the effect of temperature. It has an effect. We've seen in the previous videos, and we did see a little bit today. The temperature change definitely did have an effect. But honestly, once I warmed those rounds up, I expected to go out there and have a good portion of them shoot no problem. And that just wasn't the case. So it has to come down to case capacity or case fill. Reloader 26 was a nice full case, and those went off. That's fine. But for the rest of these powders, I needed a way to judge how much of the case I had filled up. And the easiest way I could think of was to take a fired piece of brass, fill it completely up with powder until, you know, the powder level's right at the mouth of the case, and then weigh that charge. And then take the charge that we shot today, divide that by the maximum, and we basically kind of get a percentage of how full the case was. It's not perfect. It doesn't account for, you know, the neck being filled up with a bullet or whatever. But yeah, whatever. The numbers I got were actually pretty similar across the board. The least amount of case fill was actually Winchester 760. It came out to 65% with that method. But like I said, reality, it was definitely above 70, probably 70, 75%, something like that. But with my method, it came out to 65, and the most was 70%, or no, there was a 73%. IMR 4350 had 73%. So 65 to 73% full, except for Reloader 26. Reloader 26 came out to 81%. So I didn't really find a direct correlation of the powders that shot, or at least tried to shoot better than the others today, and case capacity. However, I'm wondering if there's, with these two ball powders, you take a case that's 65% full of a ball powder, well, the ball powders pack in there tightly. You take an extruded powder, there's a whole lot more air in between those big kernels of powder, I would think. So maybe that was a part of it. Maybe these two ball powders, while they had similar case fill to the extruded powders, they were displacing more air out of the case. I think it all comes down to case capacity. We have to get the cases more full to get them to work. So I think this was a combination of three problems that are coming together on us here. First of all was the primer. The primers make a huge difference. Our previous videos, we've definitely seen a huge difference between primer brands and types. Temperature makes a difference. I think the effects are smaller than I had originally thought. I thought that was going to be what was causing a lot of the differences, and now, looking back, I don't think it is. I think it's the smallest. I think it has the smallest effect on the situation. And the last is case fill. You take a crappy primer on a cold day and shoot a charge that doesn't fill up the case, and you get a hang fire or a misfire. So we've identified the best primers. We can't do anything about temperature. It is what it is. So I'm still trying to develop the test for the next video. I could either take, let's say, all 10 of the powders we tested today, or maybe we drop Reloader 26 because we know it's good, and we bring back Vitavori N550, and instead of shooting these absolute minimum charges, we shoot a nice hot charge of each of them. Same test as today, just with nice hot charges. Same primer, same everything, and see what happens. I think that would be a good test. Another option would be to select a couple of the powders and do a little bit of a charge weight workup. We know where they don't work. Maybe we take a powder or two and just go up in 1 grain increments and see at what point it starts reliably functioning. Maybe we could do 2 or 3 powders in that sort of test. So that's where my head's at right now. I'm still a little bit confused, a lot going through my mind here, trying to get my head wrapped around the situation. But that's where my head's at right now. We're going to have a 4th video. It probably won't be tomorrow. It might be the day after. So I've got a little bit of time to think about it and read your all's comments. I appreciate all the comments coming in. You guys sharing your thoughts and ideas on this situation. I know some people are confused as to why I'm spending time on this, but I think it's important. I mean, we've already, in the first couple of videos, we've identified the best primers. That has huge value. And if we need to have a general warning, which I think at this point you could probably say, if you're shooting small rifle primers, you don't want to start at the starting charge. You're going to need to go higher. Maybe you need to avoid powders that don't have a good enough case fill. We'll know a little bit better after the next video. But this is very, very valuable information. So those of you who wish I would just get back to bullet testing, which, man, I am so excited to start playing around more with this Hornady match bullet. We shot a couple halfway decent groups today. So all indications so far are that this bullet is going to shoot amazing. I cannot wait to get testing with it. I think we're going to be shooting some good groups. But before we can get to that point, I want to finish this out. I want to get my head wrapped around this situation. So, yep, one more video probably. So I think that's it. Like I said, I'm not sure about tomorrow. There might be a video on another topic. It won't be a 6.5 Creedmoor video. That'll probably be the day after. So I'll see you guys next time.